I like it when it's simple. When I used to press the button and it just started recording. Now I've got this cloud option.
Why can't life be simple?
Simple. You subscribe. I don't want to tell you I subscribe. We're going to still try to get to the 45-minute.
Right.
God.
So I'm Melinda McKinsey.
I'm Tom Wise. Thanks for
Thank
stopping
you
by
for-
to
What?
unpacking some shit. I was watching a podcast the other day, and this is
Yes.
exactly what drives me nuts about podcasts.
Yes.
This group of three didn't
Okay.
stop laughing at inside jokes for 12 minutes. And then I fast forwarded 30 minutes, and they're still laughing about stuff. I go,
Yeah.
whatever.
I'm
Anyway,
trying to- good for them that they're having a lot of fun. But if you're laughing at an
Absolutely.
inside joke,
yeah,
how does that help the group?
I don't know. That's it for the pet peeves. So we've got a special guest today. We're going to bring some clarification to this crazy world
Yes.
on 3-in-1 ladies' fantasies,
Yes.
right?
Yes. We need clarification. We need official clarification, not just opinions. This is official.
Oh, I'll make up my own facts. Thank you very much.
You'll decide what women want. Yes,
I'm the
you will.
decider. Wow, I've been catching flack on that singles group I opened up in on Facebook. Have you been on there?
Of course I have. Haven't you noticed? I did that whole thing about Santa Claus. Quit asking for the perfect woman. Santa Claus tried to kidnap me 3
I
times.
know, but then they were all over me this morning. Where are the men? Where are the men?
Oh, well, I saw that. Did Galen send that? I saw that. Someone
Well,
said,
yeah, but I'm saying I get nervous if I bring in a guy. It's almost like they've got my stamp of approval, and I have no idea what lurks in the hearts of some men. And I've accumulated a very nice group of women.
yes.
Reasonable, fun-loving, smart, pretty, and single. It's like I don't want to spoil this with some dope coming in here, private
know.
messaging, like an idiot.
Well, why don't you ask the women to recommend men? Right.
I declared today Sadie Hawkins Day,
Okay.
right?
I'll be happy to recommend some men. I kind of like what you're doing there, because if rando guys are coming in, the women aren't going to want to stay if it gets weird.
No, I think we're really selective. I'd like to have 50 guys in there, 50 good guys, and and 50 good women, and just have some sort of interesting conversation. I'm trying to keep it in the Tampa area, but who knows? A good person's a good person.
Well, that leaves me out. I'm already, so I can't invite New Yorkers. They need to be Tampa people.
You know what? I think just good person is good person. I mean, I'm trying. It's like a singles. I don't. It's not a dating thing, but I just thought Tampa singles, we could have meetups. Like, once the COVID settles down, we could all meet up at a bar on a Friday night, or meet over, brunch over at Patrick's in a couple 3 months, or whatever. So I was thinking that's why I was just thinking locals.
Yeah, the flights are cheap. You can come to New York because no one wants to be here right now.
Yeah.
So you have some leftover topics that you were excited about.
I've got one leftover topic called either or.
Either or. All right. And any other topics?
Wow. It sounds accusational. I thought we'd fill up I think we're going to go to town with your guest.
We are going to go to town.
And pardon me, I've been busy. I've been selling the places for sale, should sell, the place is upside down.
It's great. But I do want to explain tone, because I said any other topics like that. I could have said, do you have any other topics?
I know what when you said it is. You expect me to bring a brick to the wall. Let's build something.
Well, I like to talk about my topics. I still want to talk about take my job, please. There's a lot I want to say about people trying to take my job. Divorce. I want to talk about the good side of the plus side of divorce.
Nice.
And your favorite holiday food for this time of year.
Ooh, I like all those topics.
Yeah. And then before you know it, our guest will be here, which I'm so excited to delve into what we were talking about previously when we were talking about fantasies, and to really, because she called me right away and she said, hey, how did you not find this? Let me show you where to look. And I was like, well, of course.
Really?
Yes. I mean, I was embarrassed that I didn't even think to look there. She said, why are you looking on the internet? Let me tell you where to go.
Wow, there's something you can find things outside the internet?
Yes.
Wow.
Can you believe it? Can you stand it? I want to talk about your topic because it's something you've been wanting to talk about for a minute.
Well, it's interesting because, as we're getting older, certainly me, it's like, and now I'm moving away from the ranch. So I'm doing a transition. So it kind of forces that thought in my head.
Yes.
It's in the question, the topic is either or. It's like either you're going to write a book or you're not. Either you're going to write an hour worth of stand-up comedy or you're not. Either you're going to go visit Paris or you're not. You get to a point in your life where either you're going to do something or you're not. You think when you're 16, 18, 25, you've got forever to go to Yosemite or not, or Alaska or not, or go on to the Galapagos Islands or not, because now it's getting, what, I'm 62, 15 years, of being active, hopefully. My gosh, I'm seeing my counterparts dropping off like, to the side. A bad hip, bad this, can't do that anymore. Not interested in doing that. So, maybe I'm adding more years to the possibilities that really exist. Nobody's guaranteed another day. All I'm saying is, it's becoming. I never did this in the past, but maybe it's time to write it. Get a bucket list of 50 things I'd like to do.
I love that. It snowed here. We got about 8 inches of snow, so I had to shovel it, right? I don't use my upper body for any kind of anything except for to feed myself. And so I get this shovel like I've been doing it my whole life, and I grab this snow shovel and I'm like, oh, this is not so bad. And then after about 3 to 4 minutes, I was like, why did I think that snow would be light and fluffy and easy to move? Snow is heavy. It's heavy and it's cold. I was not mentally prepared. Then it became a competition because I saw, here's the funny thing, Tom, 7:00 in the morning, I'm out. I'm a ladies' lady. I'm very kind of fancy and dress up. I'm not your, hey, let's go out and chop some wood. I'll pay you double what it costs. So I don't have to do it. So I'm out shoveling at 7 a.m. and the lady 2 doors down is shoveling. No men. And I was like, well, this is kind of interesting. About 9:10, the guys moseyed out. 9:10 started doing their shoveling. I thought, well, isn't that an interesting concept? Because here in New York, if you own property, you only have so many hours before you shovel the snow or you get a fine because they want to keep the walkways clear for all the pedestrians.
What?
Yeah.
What socialist came up with that idea?
Right. So you have to, and I wanted to get it over with because it kept snowing. It wasn't going to stop, and I thought it's just going to get harder and harder. So as far as going back to what you were saying about what you're going to do, it really brought to light my inability to understand my weaknesses as far as my physical activity. I've not exercised the 7 months I've been home. It exhausted me. And I thought, you know what, when this pandemic's over, I plan on traveling. Do I think I'm going to lay around on my couch for 7 months, then just get up and go trollop all over the world?
No, it's very interesting because I've stopped playing basketball same way, 8, 9 months, whatever the hell it's been.
Yeah.
And I get winded really fast these days now too, even on the bike. But it's all, another thing is, living out here in the ranch, as far as going to the gym is concerned.
Yeah.
So every time I think about going to a gym or going to, hey, there's plenty to do around here if you want to work out. Go paint some fences, go fix some roof, go mow something. So in my mind, I'm like, I can't exercise because this effort I'm putting in here could be productive over here. Instead of pushing weights mindlessly, I could actually be, unloading the truck, putting force feed. So I'm thinking that, and of course I don't do all that physical activity anyway. It gets pushed off, or I do as little as possible. So I'm thinking now, if I won't be living out here, I don't have that excuse anymore. It's going to be interesting. Hopefully I get into some sort of routine.
Yeah, I've come to acknowledge I have to have an accountability partner. I'm not good on my own. When it comes to diet or exercise or anything, I need someone to answer to. So as far as your bucket list or what you're recognizing, is there anything when you have these thoughts that you thought, wow, I'm not going to do X, Y, and Z anymore?
Right.
I mean, have you thought of anything personally that you're like, hey, I'm not going to do that now?
I think I think outside of obvious things like I'm never going to be an astronaut.
Yeah.
Things like that you age out of. I'd like to think that still opportunity exists. I mean, I thought about some years back to go to South America, some small city, and just immerse myself and then force myself to learn Spanish. I thought that might be an interesting thing.
Yeah.
My then wife didn't think that was a good idea. So you're gonna leave the kids for how long?
Right.
The kids are 8 and 7.
Do you think, Tom, because of this pandemic, that a larger or a smaller group of people will try harder now when it's over to like invest into the world? Do you think it will open up doors for people that maybe previously didn't really care about that kind of thing?
It's gonna be it. It's interesting because you're forced to be home by yourself, so there's a lot of thinking involved. Can I switch topics a little bit?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard about the concept of early adopters?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
You notice maybe about 15 years ago when the cell phones started becoming popular, iPhones, right, Galaxies,
Sure.
you'd have people that would wait in line for 2 days to get an iPhone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you had the second group waiting a week to get an iPhone.
Hmm.
Then you got third and fourth. Well, this whole concept of early adopters, and I think I've gone completely off off of your topic,
It's okay.
but it also is the same type of technology or mindset for getting the vaccination shots. Because the people there are, oh no, I'm going to wait till everybody goes a third eye before I try my vaccine, versus the guy that's, oh, I want to be number one. I want to get in that shot the first thing. So you've got kind of a bell curve where there's a very small group of people that are willing to go in the first. Then you got people that are like, well, let me see how the first guy goes, but I'll be second, and then you got the other person is, I'm comfortable owning an iPhone 3 when they're putting out the iPhone 7s. All right. People aren't getting brain tumors, and it seems that this cell phone thing isn't going anywhere, and they hold on to the old technology. All I'm using it for is texting. So why I need an iPhone 9.4?
Yeah.
Right? So you've got that bell curve of people that early adopters. I want to be number one. I'm waiting in line for the shot So so my feeling is, don't be judgmental when somebody says, I'm going to wait till, so that's just their nature. That's just the nature of the humans. We're going to eat. Some people are early adopters and some people want to wait and see. Stay in your comfort zone.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure I'm pretty insulated right now because I'm working from home. So most of my outreach is on social media, but it does seem like there's a wide range of people judging people for making choices different than their own.
Right.
And you know what? Like I'm one of those people. I will not wait in line for a cell phone. I'll wait it out. I don't feel the pressure to go get it first. And I feel the same thing about the vaccine. I want to give it a minute. I'm going to give it a beat because I'm not an essential worker. So I don't require it immediately. And I think it seems a little selfish for me to run out and try to grab it.
Plus,
and I am working from home.
Yeah. Plus you're not engaging. You're not working. Yeah. You and I are probably one of the last ones, good, because any social engaging I do is all elective.
Yeah. Yeah.
Except for going to the Publix and doing a couple of things like that. It's like, all my things, because my son just texted me. He goes, should I get this? They're offering this at work for me. And he works with elderly people. He works at an old folks home.
Sure. Yeah.
And I said, if it was me, I would get it.
Yes.
Because you're protecting the old people.
Of course.
Eventually. But even though they're saying the Moderna shot offers a suppression of the virus to transmit, whereas the Pfizer shot, they haven't shown the studies that show that. Are you familiar with how this works?
Yes, I've been researching it, and I'm not a fan of Pfizer, to be honest with you. The company itself and the option with the vaccine.
Well, Pfizer, I understand, did not take any government money.
No, I do applaud that. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. So anyway, to complete my thought, is they have not proven that taking the vaccine from Pfizer will also limit your transmission. It's going to suppress you getting sick.
Yes.
But you may still off-gas, the virus. So that's why you still have to wear a mask. They're saying the Moderna virus or the Moderna vaccine has a high potential of also stopping transmission.
Yeah, where the information I have now, and I'll keep researching, is I would probably lean towards Moderna than I would towards Pfizer. But I'm just gonna sit back and let some things happen and see how it goes. I hope people are going to be kind about this. We've been through a really rough patch with people hating on each other.
Yeah, you may not get a choice, by the way.
I recognize that as well. That's just my headspace right now. I'm trying to be adaptable. If anything has happened during this pandemic, it's taught me to be more adaptable and to I always felt like I was a go with the flow person, but I wasn't as much as I thought until this happened. You think you're go with the flow until they say, "Hey, go with the flow." And you're like, well, "Hold on a second."
Well, it's interesting because, certainly California, they're shutting people down, right?
Yeah.
And they're a lot more, I don't know, similar to New York, I would imagine. But here in Florida, it's like we're still kind of open. So in my mind, I can still do stuff, but it's not you get to choose. Oh, your friend's here. So you handle everything, all right? I'll just chime in.
I love hearing that from a man.
Ooh, she had a bubble.
Oh, look who's here, everybody. It's Trina Evans.
Hi, Trina.
Hello, you guys.
So excited. So before we go into what we're going to discuss, can you give your credentials to everybody?
I'm a librarian.
Boom.
Boom. That's it. I used to work at a public library, but now I work at a school. So now I'm a school librarian. So teacher librarian.
Yeah. So in order to be a librarian, though, you can't just have an associate's or a bachelor's degree. Is that correct?
Correct. You have to have a master's degree.
What the what?
What? So much student loan debt. Master's degree, right? Crazy.
Are we still in the Dewey Decimal System?
Oh, we're frozen.
There.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Well, that's the funny thing or the interesting thing about being a librarian. I didn't know until you were filling me in on all this that a librarian had to have a master's degree. It kind of makes sense, but also it's unfortunate because I think historically librarians are looked at kind of a sidebar, even though people love books, people love to go get stuff for free. I don't think the library really gets all its due since technology and cell phones have taken off.
Correct. Everybody says I can Google that.
Yeah.
May I ask you a question? How can I
Yes.
know she's a librarian without the glasses? Please. Oh, all right. I'm in now.
I don't like to wear them. Like you see the glare and
Forget the
all this.
master's degree. The glasses say it all.
Yeah.
She's got the glasses. So, Trina, I was telling Tom that from our last show, we were researching women's fantasies, and the number one fantasy was women enjoying two or more partners where they're the center of attention. And so I started doing research online. I was Googling it, and I couldn't find anything. And then tell them what you said to me. You reached out to me, and I was so shocked that I hadn't considered my options of doing research.
So I was listening to the podcast and I was like yelling, I was like, had my phone on and I was like, you guys, it's not the internet, it's books. Like these are fantasies that you read in so many romance novels. And it has a name. It's called reverse harem. And it's a super big trope in romance novels. Yes.
Really?
Reverse
Yes.
harem. Reverse harem is a
harem.
real thing.
You know what? I've had conversations with ladies. I've never been introduced to that concept at all. I've never read. Not for good or for bad. I've never read that type of book. I just wasn't interested in it. But so that's a thing. That's a running theme. That's interesting.
It's a big thing in romance. I think people don't realize, especially like romance readers, they're such big readers. I mean, they're reading like multiple books a week and basically carrying the industry. But I think like all those, there's all of the tropes, that like the enemies to lovers, the friends to lovers, the fake engagement, the secret baby, like all of the things. And reverse harem has definitely, like, if you look it up by books, and type that category, and you'll see that it's even in like young adult romance. And it's not like always super like sexual. It's more like there's a quirky girl and all the boys are in love with her. It's a really athletic guy and the really smart guy. And basically like any level of that thing that you like about men, like each one combines to make the perfect man.
You're building a man.
Yes.
And I think I've seen that type of equation. The gay guy helps you go shopping,
Yeah.
The other man's going to help you fix the refrigerator.
Yep.
And then there's other
And then you've
things.
got this super big, like the alpha guy, right? And he gets so mad at you, and then he stops talking to you, and you're crying and you're upset. And then the really sensitive guy comes in and explains why the alpha male is, just going through some things, and then he helps. And then there's the maternal guy that's cooking for you. So yeah, I think it's definitely like more fantasy, not fantasy becoming reality. I think people
Right.
like to read it. I don't know how much they actually
Oh,
want to
I have a question. May I ask you a question?
do that in real life.
Yeah.
If Melinda was to walk into a library with this idea of searching this concept, where would she have started?
With
Yeah,
the
I mean, just
librarian.
the librarian.
See, if I walked into the library and started that conversation with the librarian, the police would be called.
No, the librarians love to talk about stuff. We get all kinds of sensitive topics, and it's
See,
really
that's nice.
interesting. No judgment.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing that Trina keeps reminding me that I forget, because for someone who loves books as much as I do, I hadn't put a lot of thought into librarians and what they know and how they can be helpful in those ways where you could just walk up to a librarian and say, hey, I'm trying to find out information in a fantasy where there's a woman and more than two men. The librarian's not going to laugh at you and go, get out of here. She's going to say, I know exactly what you're talking about. Do you want this, this, or this? And then she's going to take you there or show you, which Trina's been such a help with reminding me. I would ask her a question. She's like, have you checked at the library? Ah!
That's amazing. See, everybody thinks that the library's been replaced by Google, right?
Yeah. But a lot of people don't know how to use Google. So they got to come to a librarian, and they don't have access to computers or the internet, or how to set up an email so that they can do everything, because everything is online now. But you can't believe how many people use the library for like job searches and like how to even check, especially older folks that come in, they don't have all of that knowledge. And so who is going to be patient with them and show them how to, there's so many like retirement benefits, everything. They're like, oh, you have to go online. Well, they don't know how to do that. They don't have an email account. And so librarians have definitely helped with that digital divide as well.
So how did you decide that this is your career path?
I mean, I always kind of knew I wanted to be a librarian, but I didn't realize how much schooling. And so I kind of took like the scenic route. And then for like 6 years, I kept applying to a library. And then eventually I got hired after 6 long years. And then once I got hired, then I was like, okay, now I can get my master's degree and become a librarian, because I didn't want to do it. I mean, I didn't do it the traditional way. You should do with this stuff when you're younger. But now I have like a ton of debt, and
There you go. Well, you get that high cash paying librarian job.
Trina's another example of accomplishing something because she really wanted it. So tell him what you did to get into the library, because I think that's fascinating. Libraries are very they like to keep certain things a certain way, and they don't want someone just walking in going, I want to be a librarian. They make you jump through some hoops. So Trina, tell them what you did to actually break through that ice.
Well, I mean, I definitely kept applying. And then, I mean, at one point I even made like a sample, like a book about me, and put like, I was the author and all that. It still didn't get their attention. And so they had like a cattle call, and I was like, this is it. This is the last one. And I basically lied to get my foot in the door. So that's what I did. I lied. They hired me, and then librarian.
There you go. She puts the lie in librarian.
Yes.
But I think it's such a good example. If you really want something that people keep telling you no, there are ways to make it work in your favor if it's something you really want to do. And I love the fact Trina created a book just to show the librarians, hey man, like I'm really into this. I want to do this.
Okay, what was the Dewey Decimal positioning for your book? The 600, the 700s?
No, it was more like a pamphlet. I didn't do like so much like a nonfiction. It was just like a funny little thing. But yeah, it would have been more like in the biography section, right? Like
what section
loose
is that?
Memoir.
The biography or a memoir? Yeah. So Trina, talk about romance novels, because you said people that read romance novels, though, that's really the heart of the industry, right?
Yeah, romance readers, I mean, they're reading like 2, 3, 5 books a week. And the important thing about romance, so I think so many people get really confused. The main ingredient is at the very end, it has to have an HEA, which stands for happily ever after. So it's not romantic elements. It has to end in a happily ever after. So that means when you're reading the book, and this is why readers love the books, they know there's going to be conflict, but everything will be resolved and everything will be okay at the end. So we know that when we're reading it, as bad as things are, it's going to be okay in the end.
Does it have to be, I mean, is there a sadness allowed in the book? Like the dog dies or somebody dies in the book? I mean, just because can there be elements of sadness in the thing or tragedy?
Oh yeah, there's always elements of sadness and, lots of stress, but it's just, it all works out in the end, so if the dog dies or if someone dies, they meet someone else that helps them get through it. And then they get a puppy for Christmas. It's all going to be okay. So
it's Hallmark, but with a little spin.
yeah. And you
Yeah.
can get the levels, right? Like in romance novels, we have very light, just like it's nice. And there's some little kissing. And then there's sometimes of it's implied that sexual contact happened, right? Fade to black. And then we get into now we're really describing it all the way till now we've got fetishes and, whatever kind of kinks you like, it's there. So there's levels of romance.
Okay.
For sure.
Is there any judgment when somebody walks up with certain types of books? Or do you ever, might you ever caution someone against, you've been getting these types of books and this book might be a little bit more than you were prepared to handle? I don't want you passing out on the couch.
There isn't any judgment, but a lot of times we would create bookmarks with a thermometer of the rate of hot spiciness level. So that if someone's like, hey, I don't want so much, and a lot of times usually you'll say, do you like this author? And if they like this author, then this spice level is available for them. Or if they want to take it up a notch or take it down.
Yeah, it's like the Wing House or the Thai restaurant.
It's exactly like the Wing House. So with this reverse harem, this has been around for a while, I'm guessing then, right?
Yeah.
So this is not new information. So when I was looking at online, I guess I should have said reverse harem, except for I didn't know it was called that. And
Yep.
I love the name of it because it brings up many images. Reverse harem. When you say harem, I very much feel like, oh, submissive women. Oh, it's always about the guy. So I love the reverse harem. When I was looking it up after you filled me in on what it was called, it's a lot. There's a lot of anime stuff with reverse harems, which I guess is that another part of the anime world? Because I know nothing about anime.
I'm not real big in anime. I know the manga and stuff is popular, the different graphic novels and stuff. I don't so much, it's not really my thing, but whatever anybody likes. But yeah, reverse harem in the library world, we definitely know that word, and it's fun.
It's funny because there's a little anime floating around my house. My kids, 16 to 25. I've seen some of it, and it seems to sexualize women a lot, but I can imagine that there's, some lonely boys are enjoying that, but I've never seen this women are, reverse harem theme. It's very interesting.
Do you think if you asked the girls, your daughters, what a reverse harem was, that they would know?
I'm going to guess no, because I don't think, no, I mean, I don't want to be the naive dad, because I don't think that I think I would have picked up on some of that along the way, because they'll watch their shows, years ago, and, there was nobody ever jumped for the remote control to turn things off when dad walked into the room. So, I mean, I've never seen anything like that, but it'd be interesting. And they'll tell me if they've seen it or not, or they're familiar with it or not. I'll talk to my son. I'll see what he says.
So would your girls or your son be more apt to acknowledge their sexual fantasies with their father?
It's funny because yesterday I had the conversation about the gymnast, and does Trina, are you familiar with the conversation we had about sexual flexibility, and then whether it was a
Yes.
physical thing or a mental thing? And then I talked
Right,
about
yeah.
sexual, a female gymnast being flexible, or maybe beach volleyball with the ladies. And I was just wondering if the women have a similar titillation if they see a gymnast not trying to be sexual, but he's just doing an iron cross and he's got real tight pants and you see his bulge. And I equated that to how I've seen women get excited about football players in their tight white pants. Can I get a ruling on this?
But is it the bulge in football players or is it their backside?
No, we're talking front side for the men. The guy's doing it.
No,
I think,
no. No, the strong arms. If I'm seeing like any kind of gymnast, anytime I've seen the Olympics, I've always been fascinated with the strength of the arms, but I could care less about, the bulge.
Tom was feeling sorry for me because he thought I was missing an important component in my life because I'm not drawn to the bulge.
No.
And it's funny because then I started second guessing myself saying, well, I haven't dated in a while. Maybe I'm missing something. But if I want to be honest with myself with the football players, it's always the backside that I find very attractive with the shape of their body and how their pants fit them or whatever you call the pants that they wear. I don't know. Are they called pants? What football players wear?
Yeah, football pants. Yep.
Okay.
I think we've got a title for the show, though. It's called Battle of the Bulge. Just go on.
Well, but we need to ask other men about this. As much as I know, Tom, you do represent all men on the planet. I am curious what the other minions have to say about it.
I'm going to ask whether people are familiar with this reverse harem idea, this concept.
I think that
I've
needs to
never heard
be
of
a
it.
new question.
But
But
isn't there a little bit of sadness involved that a woman can't be stimulated by seeing a man, a good-looking, strong man with a little bit of a bulge? There's no fantasy about that at all.
why is that sad to you? This is the funniest part.
Because
to
we
me.
enjoy a woman in a sweater or a gal in a playing beach volleyball. We're taking it all in.
But we enjoy. Okay, but I think here's where the disconnect
You don't
is.
sexualize that guy at all.
Here's the disconnect.
Okay, let me get a drink. Go
I'm
on.
speaking, sir. I'm speaking.
Hang on, there's a fly in my head. I got it. There we go. You were saying?
Here's where I believe the disconnect is coming from.
Yes.
We
Thank you.
sexualize men not in their gender parts, but as a whole physicality. I think if we saw a scrappy, skinny guy that was unattractive, but he had the biggest bulge, we wouldn't be going, check out the bulge. It's the whole persona.
I get it though, but let's say you're on Tinder or you're on Bumble or you're on Hinge.
You're
You
going
just-
from a 1 to a 9.
I'm just saying, all you have is this photograph to decide whether you're attracted or not. And I'm going to say any guy putting a gymnast shot is probably not going to get a swipe right.
You're
That's
correct about that,
a
sir.
poor man's, dick pic.
That
There,
proves,
I said it.
that proves my point. If a woman puts a bikini picture, she's going to get a lot of hits. If
I'm
a guy-
saying. I
if
mean,
a
that's. All right. I need to be educated on it. I'm saying that's fine.
If
So
a
there's,
guy does a gymnast picture with focusing on the bulge,
I'm not focusing on it. It's a whole picture of him, the whole entire body.
okay. So if a guy, and you tell me, Trina, if a guy is a gymnast and you see the whole body, I'm telling you as a female, I'm going to go, my God, those arms, that would be cool if he would pick me up. He seems strong. Never once am I going to go, check out the sack. It just,
All right. I'm just saying, on a dating app, it would be a weird picture to put in. But I'm saying, as a person watching Sports Channel, Sports Center, as you do, as you have to watch Sports Center, Miss Melinda.
it's a sports center. It's called Sports Center.
Yeah, Sports Center, they do a lot of wrap-ups of different sports.
It's like a television show.
I really like teeth. I really like to zoom in on the teeth more than like the bulge. I would be like, teeth. Oh, they're really crooked. Never mind.
Pass.
The mouth is so important. The mouth is very, very important.
Amen to that. Agreed.
Yeah. Right? So I would be curious to know what other men say about it. But to get back to this reverse harem, is there, when you're talking about the spice level, so in the reverse harem, as in all romance novels, you're saying even in that genre, there's light, medium,
Whoa.
hot, whatever.
Yeah, because there's like young adults, it's called, YA, the teen books.
Okay.
And those it'll say reverse harem, and there's not any sex that's happening. It's just that this girl all the boys, you know, she's so quirky and, you know, they just find her so beautiful. And it's just having that, all that, they think she's so smart, just like she's there. Everyone is so in love with her, all of them, every single, like there's a whole group of them that are all about, and they're all kind of like friends, but they're all in love with her. So yeah.
I love that because you know what, Tom, I look back at the survey that I read, and what it said for the female's number one sexual fantasy was that it was one female, two or more men, and that she was the main person getting the attention, but they didn't say she was getting penetrated or she, you know, she was. And so when Trina explained it to me, I thought this does make sense, because you know what always will draw a woman in is the right kind of attention. If you give us the right kind, you know what makes us go away? The wrong kind of attention. That, like, if you're too harsh or if you ignore us, or, you know, that makes us go away. So it would make sense with the reverse harem if we take it to the adult level of sexual fantasy. If you get all the right attention, that's an amazing setup. And I think that also makes sense. Trina, when I was saying, I explained to Trina, I said, hey, I think if I did that, I would consider doing that in real life. But again, I don't want to ever see those guys again, which also leads to the fantasy part, because in the fantasy, I don't know you. You're not really actually a person to me. You're more of a thing.
I have a question. All good points. I think, Trina, what amazed me about this whole concept was that it was 4,000 women were being surveyed, and they came up with this idea all on their own without being prompted. Do you know that, Melinda? Or was it a list of 15 things?
According to the survey, they were given a list and they were also able to write in their own answers. So it was a combination. But according to Trina, she says it's a well-known fantasy, the reverse harem. Yeah. It's well known.
Well, you and I, we're as worldly as they get.
We did not know.
Little hole in our education.
Not know.
Read some more books.
No kidding.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and Trina, tell Tom, there's a thing called Ask a Librarian, which is something I think people don't think about either, because they think about Google.
Yeah. So, I mean, pretty much it's pretty universal at any library. You can either go on, it's different, you know, for each library, but usually it says Ask a Librarian. That's usually how they put it. And it can be either email, you can call, or like text. So, and then you just ask them whatever question, and librarians are really great about, like, not always having the right answers, but if they don't know it, then they'll search it out or they'll ask other librarians. So there's always like emails going around for other librarians of like, this person read this book in second grade and there was this character in this and they can't really remember, and maybe the cover was blue. They really want to finish this book. And surprisingly, librarians usually get it right. Wow. So it's pretty cool. They use, you know, each other to answer that. But yeah, so if you ever have any questions, just find your local library. And if you don't want to do your local library, obviously New York Public Library is really well known for, you know, the full United States of like asking things like that and getting that help.
I remember as a kid, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, very excited that one of my brothers or sisters called the librarian, and they were able to ask and get an answer to their school question. It was crazy. I was like, what? It was like, you know, early Google.
Yeah. No, it really is. And it's funny because, you know, when I was younger and my kids were younger, that was our big thing. We would go to the library and they could all check out a certain amount of books. We would rent videos. Like, that was kind of our go-to thing. And I think over time, because of the convenience of my phone, I've kind of, you know, stopped remembering what the library has in store for me. Like, I buy books online, I do all of that. But every time I walk past the New York Library or I see a library, I actually get very excited because I love the idea that it's filled with books. It's filled with so much knowledge and potential. And now Tom and I learned today what a reverse harem is.
Reverse harem. And I think the uptick is really, since libraries have so many like ebooks available now, that romance novels are, you know, increasing electronically, because now these racy titles and racy subjects, people have a little bit more privacy reading it on their e-reader or on their phone or some kind of electronic device.
No judgment from the librarian.
No judgment.
So do you happen to know, like, what is the number one romance novel of, like, what's the most popular Like maybe
I
title?
can't remember exactly. I know on Goodreads, they just every year there's this site called goodreads.com. And so it's kind of like a social media for reading, but they always do voting, and they just had the voting for 220 of like the best romance, best fantasy, best, historical, like best, I can't remember the list. I mean, it changes all the time, but they do have on Goodreads, which is a popular site. Check out Goodreads and type in reverse
There you go.
harem.
I love Goodreads.
I love it.
I love Goodreads. So, Tom, now that you have a librarian at your fingertips, is there a question you would like to ask the librarian?
I think I'm duly impressed, and I love that you brought Trina on. What a pleasure. Thanks for coming on the show.
Before Trina goes, I want her to tell, there is a community among librarians where they do different things and they encourage each other in different ways. And Trina was known as a mover and a shaker in her librarian community. And I want you to explain to Tom what that is, Trina.
Wow.
Well, there's a publication called Library Journal. And so each year they have the movers and shakers issue. And it's basically like the 50 people that are like changing libraries, like shaping the future. And so I think it was 2018, I was considered one of those top 50 people making changes and innovation in libraries. It's a pretty big deal if you're in the library world.
Congratulations. Well done. That's great.
Yeah, it's a very big deal. So thank you, Trina, for reminding us how important that librarians are and how you can still get your sexy time on when you go to the library. There is no judgment. It's not old school there. Anything you want, you can ask a librarian.
Well done. Well, Merry Christmas. Have a great holiday season, Trina. Nice meeting you.
All right. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Bye. Isn't that nice?
I know. See?
Look at you.
It's so funny because she said, why did you love books, you're reading all the time, why didn't you go there for your answer? And I said, you know what, it's a pattern I need to break. I'm always going to Google for everything. And
I forgot to ask you, how did you meet her? Did you meet her on the internet, or is a neighbor of yours?
I met her when she was born because she's my sister's daughter.
What?
She's my niece.
What?
And that's how I know Trina.
That's wonderful. How nice is that? Why did we get that out? That bit of information. We could have got a little background on you.
That's why we didn't say it until just now. But no, it's funny. She tells me so many interesting stories about the library, about how, especially like when the weather's bad and things are going on, that's actually a refuge for people that don't have anywhere to stay. They're required to stay open. The library does a lot of good things for people. And I'm wondering, with today's youth, she is now librarian at a middle high school. Once she reminds the kids of what libraries do, they get very excited about it because they can get books for free. They don't have to pay for books. They can get music for free.
I saw a woman I was talking to. She was getting a pressure washer for free. They've got tool rental at the library.
There you go.
In Dunedin.
Okay. See, I think we forget about the value of libraries because we think technology is so much more advanced, right?
Okay, I was going to the Clearwater Community Center to play basketball. That's where I was playing ball way back when.
Yeah.
And they had a library there that when was it? No, they built a library there about 2 years ago. And I'm saying to myself, what a waste of time and energy is this? Because you've got, the internet. Who needs a library? This is, but then they build the thing and it's gorgeous inside. The parking lot's always full. It's a great center for people to, register voters or,
Yes.
It's a jewel in the community to have a wonderful library like that. And I was completely wrong about my opinion on the library.
Yeah, I think because.
Hey, I got it in before the end of the year.
Hey.
I said I was wrong.
It feels good, Tom. How's it feel on your end?
Yeah, I had 12 days to go, 13 days to go. I got it.
All right. Well, so as far as the reverse harem, of course, once she told me about it, then I started researching all these. There are so many books, and something that I recognize about myself, I love to read, but I prefer biographies or history, or I like to get into some made up stories sometimes, but it made me recognize I'm not a romance reader. I don't read romance. So I think maybe I'm going to try it and see if that's something that I'm interested in.
I mean, I've met some women that are all they want to watch is Harlequin, the Hallmark shows. We
Yeah.
all know how they begin, the middle, and the end, and just like happy ever after.
Yeah.
And you want to take that journey and you don't want any nonsense.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not much of a fiction reader, but I think it might be time, because what I actually told her was, well, I'm so cynical about all that love stuff. Maybe it would soften me up a little bit if I read some of these romance novels. Maybe I would get all like,
I
oh,
wonder if the romance novels might encourage, fantasy that's not achievable, or relationships that aren't achievable.
you mean like good ones?
Like, oh, I'm going to have 10 boys behind me, and I'm going to like this part from this boy and this part from this boy. And this, I'm building a reverse Frankenstein, reverse man, I'm building a man.
I don't know. When she was explaining the reverse harem, I love what she was saying about how there's always like the angry, muscular guy, and then the sweet guy who you can talk to. Because of course, as a female, we would like all these to be wrapped into one. Nobody's everything. You can't be everything. And I think that is the misconception in relationships, right? Like, we want you to be everything, you want us to be everything, and we can't. But I love the idea of the reverse harem, where it doesn't even always have to be sexual, but isn't it lovely that it can be?
Yes, it's interesting. And then I like the idea having the hot index on the book. So, a 9-year-old isn't getting in over her head just because it's
Right.
a romance novel, right?
Right. No, I love it too. So, I did want to ask you, because since we've both been divorced, right? The word divorce, when I got divorced, it bothered me a lot, because it has a connotation of failing at something, right? But I will say this, I've learned over time, and especially we're in 2020, when someone's divorced, it's not shocking anymore, is it? It didn't used to be like, oh, they're divorced. It led to all kinds of thoughts and ideas. I feel like for me, divorce was probably one of the better things that's happened to me, because it taught me to be a stronger person, and it taught me I had to fight for myself. Believe it or not, I haven't always been a fighter. And it taught me also to temper my ideas about justice and the court system and the governments. I learned how naive I was about justice will prevail, the truth will rise up. I learned that I was really insulated. I didn't really understand that it really was about, and unfortunately in our court system, and especially in my particular case, if someone doesn't want to divorce you, which was my case, it'll take years to actually get a divorce, because you can throw a lot of money at attorneys. It took us a couple of years. I personally spent over $40,000
Wow.
I turned in my 401k because I had to fight, because they would throw things in. So I'd have to pay my lawyer to fight, because he thought if he kept throwing money, because he had more than me, that I would quit, which we all know that's a love story made in heaven. Like, oh, I can't afford to fight you, I'm yours. Or to
That's a-
ruin me. But what did you learn? Because there's always good things to learn when you get on the other side of divorce. What did you feel like are some of the good things?
I think what I learned is communication and solve problems early. That's the one thing you learn. It's like, too bad there wasn't more talking and more problem solving. But you know what? It's funny. You got all those dishes spinning, work, kids,
Yeah.
hobby, dog. It's like you think your marriage is going to last forever, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
it's on the ropes and it's not there anymore. But because you miss those, you learn to should have talked more.
Yeah. I mean, no one gets married thinking they're going to get divorced. We all thought this was forever. I wouldn't have done it if I thought it was
Of course.
scenario.
Of course, the first one I didn't think was going to last forever. But that also has an element of where you're at in your life. I mean, the first time I got married, I was making no money, literally $11,000 a year.
Yeah.
No money. 1984, whatever the hell it was. So
Yeah.
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 So then you're like, you've got such low personal value that, oh, you want to marry me? All right. So yeah.
Sure.
So, but you do learn a lesson there that you may not have a lot of, outward value, but to value your potential. I mean, I was 25 years old, 27 years old.
Sure.
A lot of nothing but potential, but you don't see it or recognize it
Sure.
because you're like, I've been driving a truck, I've been making no money, I'm not going
Right.
anywhere, didn't finish college, blah, 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 blah. So it's easy to get negative in your head.
Well, is there advice you would give to people today that were thinking about getting married? What would your advice be? I mean, obviously the communication. I have some definite advice I've given my female friends that were considering marriage because I've learned on the other side where I should have been smarter. Is there anything in particular you would tell your male friends or your female friends?
I think that the advice would be, if you're not fully committed to this venture, it's going to not make it. If you've got reservations, you don't think you're ready, please don't do it. Don't, because then it's 7 years later, you pop up and like, oh, let's get a divorce, or because you
Yeah.
got to be committed. And then that's funny about me. Once I was committed, I was all in,
Yeah.
you know? So, and then you're not thinking about other women, you're not thinking about, but yet we're doing the work that was needed to keep it working.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say, because I think about what I would tell my girls,
Yeah.
make sure that you're all in and they're all in, and let's talk about some crazy bad stuff before we get married. And then if everything sounds good, we're on the same page, then, it'd be
Yeah.
lovely.
Yeah. It's important to feel safe that you can be vulnerable with your partner. That's very important. And it's also, I think you need to talk about finances before you get married because money will mess up your marriage.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I feel like, this is my personal opinion, men and women should keep separate bank accounts. If you want to merge at some point, but always keep a separate bank account, I think that affects your independence because if something goes awry, money is such a manipulator. And it could be for me because it was such a financial hit.
Okay, but yeah, I understand that, but you get some also practical things. What if one of the partners is making 200 grand, the other one's making
Yeah.
40?
That's why you talk about your finances before
Yeah.
you get married, so you can decide what matters to you and how you want to merge those finances. Because I think money is such a touchy subject, we don't really want to talk about it, right? And we're like, oh, don't worry, you make more money, but it does matter.
It does matter. And the person who's making 200,000 wants to live at a certain lifestyle. Well, the person making 40, I can't.
Yes.
She's a doctor. I'm still driving a truck.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
finance.
Dolly Parton.
Do I notice that you gave the woman the more money? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just having a conversation. I don't know what you're talking about.
What am I talking about?
I'm just kidding. Yes.
No, I also think you should talk about your sex life before you get married and the expectations with your sex life, because I think that's another element in your marriage we don't speak of. We make a lot of assumptions.
Right.
And of course, when you're together initially, you want to have sex all the time. And then over time, unless you really carve time out for it, it has a tendency to go by the wayside.
Oh, that's another thing. But a bit, speaking of advice, is that I would encourage date nights and
Yes.
absolutely. And then another thing is like, take advantage. If you know what it is when you get kids, they're so all encompassing in a good way, but also in a hard way too.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
try to do weekend getaways and things that
Yes.
keep it going. Because otherwise you go, my God, it's been 7 years and we haven't been to the beach together.
Right. Yeah, you should always, and even if you get together when you're older, there's still always going to be family or relatives, and you need to understand your priorities and how you're going to handle each other. I think
And
that's
and the marriage has to be number one, not number 2 and 3 after the kids.
yeah, that's a hard one too, because if you disagree on how to raise the kids, you're going to have nothing but strife.
I'm saying also sometimes when the marriage is broken is having conflict, people
Yeah.
will change their focus and, oh, I'm going to go work harder. Oh, I'm going to concentrate on the kids. And then the marriage relationship starts falling in priority.
Well, and I think because we're humans, after we've been together for a while, we kind of take a lot of things for granted, don't we? And
Sure.
and when you don't feel like you're the priority in a relationship, then you start looking at Susie at the office because she's making you a priority.
Yeah, exactly. It's very interesting. It'd be interesting to have some sort of, on January 1st, you make a calendar with your partner of what you're going to do. Okay, well, every once a week, once a month, every 6 months, and then that pops up on your phone. Hey, don't forget to send her flowers for no reason, or don't forget to send her a, hey, I'm thinking about you text every day, or whatever it's going to be. Be
Yeah.
interesting to see if you can integrate technology into some sort of positive reminding and structure.
I love it so much because, it's those little things that make the difference in a relationship, but yet we don't invest in our relationship. Why do we get married and just assume everything's going to work out? We work
then-
hard at our jobs.
I
because
know.
we have to.
Yeah, the boss isn't going to put up with a bunch of crap.
No.
Yeah, it's sadly interesting.
I just think because as humans, we take things for granted. When things are good, we're like, oh, things are good. Why do I have to invest in something that's good?
Got to put more logs on that fire.
Yeah, because you do. And so I'm really glad that you learned about what a reverse harem is, because that's going to be something we're probably going to talk about for a while.
Amen to that. I'm going to see what's what, and if people are familiar with that term.
I want to know if your kids know about it.
Yeah, I'm going to ask the kids.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, I got to go. I got to finish packing.
Tom has a life. I'm just here with my kitten. So,
And 8 inches of snow.
and 8 inches of snow, which I love. So, I'm Melinda McKinsey.
I'm Tom Wise.
Thank you for unpacking some shit with us today. My tip for the day is go ask a librarian.
I like that. I second that notion. And I'll have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.
That's right.
That's another one in the can.